Performance identity. I have often referred to how the advances in technology have proven a great boon for my kind. Not only does technology allow us a greater reach to more people, more often, and more easily, it provides us with camouflage. The genesis of the selfie is testament to that. Once upon a time, if you wanted to be in one of your own pictures, you asked somebody else to use your camera to take a picture of you and your friends, or perhaps you against some fantastic backdrop of scenery. Now, the advent of the camera phone has allowed everybody to take a picture of themselves with friends, with a famous person, in front of a landmark, pulling a stupid pout, holding up their beer, and so on. This need to be in on the shot is a nod to a narcissistic trait of entitlement, the narcissistic trait of showcasing or vanity, boundary violation, and grandiosity. Of course, not everyone is of our kind, and just because you have a tendency to take selfies doesn't make you a narcissist. It is an indicator and isn't determinative in itself. However, what it does do, though, is increase the backdrop of narcissistic tendencies so that us, as narcissists, fit even more readily into what society is doing. 15 or so years ago, if somebody kept pestering other people to take a picture of themselves in different poses and places, eyebrows would probably be raised. Now, if you see someone holding their phone up and pouting, you don't bat an eyelid. It's expected. This narcissistic trait has become mainstream, and this is very welcome to our kind, as it allows us to merge with that mainstream, to fit in, to enable us to move far more readily and easily amongst you all. When you take that selfie, you are engaging in something called performance identity. You are reinforcing your identity as against the performance of standing and taking a picture of yourself, which you then plaster across several social media outlets, text to your friends, and quite possibly set as the background on your computer or phone. Performance crime is the instance whereby a perpetrator engages in criminal activity which he or she records. How many videos have you seen on social media where a fight is in progress and nobody steps in to halt it, but instead people stand around, cameras held aloft, filming the fracas? How often have you seen people posting pictures of themselves committing some criminal act? Perhaps it's the use of drugs, assaulting somebody, criminal damage, or theft. It also goes to include those acts which may not be criminal, but that people would regard as morally reprehensible. Taking photographs of someone who's drunk asleep, having wet themselves in the middle of the road rather than helping them, snapping away at someone who has soiled themselves or vomited, taking pictures of someone's mishap or misfortune, and adding a supposedly witty insight in white text across the bottom of the picture. These behaviours are all geared towards performance, showing off and putting on a show. We are masters at performance identity. We are defined by what we do and the response to it, to an admiring and attentive audience. Our narcissism affords that every move is choreographed, our entrance carefully planned. We, in effect, walk the urban landscape with an imaginary soundtrack playing in our heads as we strut along, considering ourselves to be in some kind of film or documentary. A puzzle once went along the lines of, if a leaf falls in a forest but there's no one there to hear it, did it make a sound? The modern-day equivalent for our kind is, if we did somebody but nobody saw it, did it really take place? We are defined by what others see us do, and of course their reaction to it, which signals control to us and provides us with fuel. Whether it is admiration, hatred, anger, upset, terror, grief, hilarity, amusement, praise, love, or adoration, there must always be an emotionally infused reaction. This reaction defines who we are, because it provides us with fuel. It tells us that we are brilliant, feared, furious, dominant, entertaining, witty, sensational, beautiful, remarkable, and so forth. The reaction is everything for the fuel it provides, but also because our performance allows us to define what we believe we are, the outward appearance the world must see, as opposed to the one locked deep away, which must never be permitted to be viewed. You all engage in performance identity. Often it is of little consequence, but it still shapes who you are. The growing tendency for people who are not narcissists, the narcissistic individuals, the normals, and the empaths, to engage in performance identity means that our absolute need to do this, will not then always stand out as much as it might once have done. Yes, it draws a reaction, but this need for that particular reaction, that attention, may not always be seen for what it is. People just regard us as outgoing, bombastic, entertaining, the life and soul of the party, at the centre of everything. There are scores of polite ways of saying attention seeker, without realizing that is what you are doing. We must do it, however. We must perform from the moment we rise from our beds until we return to it again in order to assert control over our environments and everybody in them. We must draw that precious fuel. And we have to create, consciously and in a calculated manner where greater or ultra, instinctively where lesser or mid-range, that which we must show the world what we want it to see, the construct. The world may indeed be a stage, but it is a stage for my kind and me, for us to appear on, to perform, and in so doing, create our identity. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.